Welcome to another deep dive. Today we are going to be going headfirst into a topic that's essential for any .NET 8 developer
Okay.
who wants to build robust and efficient web applications. And that is DTOs and ViewModels. You
Yeah.
said some great material on this, and I'm really curious to unpack it.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in. These patterns might seem simple on the surface, but they have a surprising amount of depth.
Yeah,
And honestly, mastering them can make a huge difference in the quality and maintainability of your .NET applications.
right. I feel like I have a general understanding of them, but something tells me there's more nuance here than
Yeah.
meets the eye,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to security and performance in .NET 8.
absolutely. And that's what
Yeah.
makes this deep dive so interesting. We're
Yeah.
not just defining terms, we're exploring how these seemingly basic patterns
Hmm.
play a crucial role in building modern, secure, and high-performing .NET applications.
Okay, let's start with DTOs, data transfer objects.
Okay.
We use these to move data between different parts of our application, right?
Right.
But why not just use our domain models directly?
Yeah.
What makes DTOs so special?
It's all about creating a separation between your internal data structure and the data you expose externally.
Well,
DTOs act as a security buffer, ensuring you only share the information that's absolutely necessary.
so it's like a bouncer at a club.
It can
Only the people on the list get in.
Exactly. Think about it this way. Your domain models might contain sensitive information,
Yeah,
like passwords, credit card details, or internal business logic.
right.
You don't want to accidentally expose that through an API, right?
Definitely not. So DTOs help us create a sort of public-facing version of our data,
Yeah.
stripping out anything that shouldn't be shared.
Precisely. And there's more to it.
Okay.
DTOs are designed for efficient serialization.
Uh-huh.
Choosing the right serialization format can actually have a big impact on the performance and security of your application,
Right.
especially in a .NET 8 environment.
Wait, really? I thought serialization was just a technical detail, like
Yeah.
choosing between JSON and XML.
Yeah.
How does that affect security?
Well, different serialization formats have different security implications.
Okay.
Some formats might inadvertently expose data structures, making your application vulnerable to attacks. .NET 8 provides a lot of flexibility,
Okay.
but it also means we need to be more aware of the security implications of our choices.
That's a great point. So DTOs aren't just about moving data around.
Right.
They're also about making conscious decisions about what data to expose and how to protect sensitive information.
Exactly. And they help you decouple your API from your internal domain model.
Okay.
That means you can evolve your internal data structures without breaking your API contracts.
Right.
It's all about flairability and long-term maintainability.
Okay, now I'm seeing how strategic DTO design can really level up the security and robustness of our .NET 8 applications.
It can make a huge difference. Now let's shift gears and talk about view models.
Okay.
These are specifically for preparing data for our user interface, right? But how are they different from DTOs? Couldn't you technically use a DTO to send data to a view?
That's what I've always been confused about. They both seem to deal with shaping data for a specific purpose.
Right.
Where's the dividing line?
The key difference is their focus.
Okay.
DTOs are about secure data transfer between systems or layers.
Okay.
View models, on the other hand, are all about presentation logic and preparing data specifically for the user interface.
Okay, so DTO is focused on moving data safely, and a view model is focused on making that data look good on the screen.
Yes.
But what does that mean practically?
Yeah,
Can you give me a real-world example?
absolutely.
Okay.
Imagine you have a complex order details page.
Okay.
You need to display information from multiple domain models, the order, the customer, the shipping details,
Okay.
maybe even product reviews. A view model would combine all of that data,
Okay.
format it for display, and even handle things like calculated fields or user-specific logic.
So the view model does the heavy lifting of gathering and transforming data, so the view can just focus on displaying it cleanly.
Precisely. It's like having a dedicated stylist for your data.
Okay.
And view models often handle things like input validation,
Okay.
using data annotations to enforce business rules and provide helpful feedback to the user.
So that's where all those data annotation attributes come into play.
Exactly.
It's all about ensuring data integrity right at the point of entry.
Exactly. And because view models aren't serialized,
Okay.
they can contain presentation-specific logic and calculated properties without any security risks.
Okay.
This separation ensures that sensitive data never makes its way to the client side.
Okay, now I'm starting to see the clear distinction.
Yeah.
DTOs are the secure couriers, getting data safely between systems,
Right.
while view models are the presentation experts,
Yeah.
making that data shine in the UI.
You got it. And choosing the right tool for the job is essential for building well-structured, maintainable .NET 8 applications.
All right, I'm feeling much clearer on the basics. But what about some of the more advanced techniques? You mentioned nested DTOs and view models,
Right, yeah.
custom mapping, and even inheritance.
Yes.
When did these come into play?
Those are great questions. And that's exactly what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll uncover the situations where these advanced techniques can really elevate your DTO and view model game
Okay.
and help you build even more sophisticated and efficient .NET 8 application.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we've laid a solid foundation on the what and the why of DTOs and view models.
Okay.
Now I'm itching to get into the how.
Yeah.
Let's talk about putting these patterns into practice,
Oh, right.
especially in the context of .NET 8.
Yeah, let's do it. And to really illustrate these concepts,
Okay.
let's revisit the e-commerce example you sent over.
Yeah.
It's a classic scenario where DTOs and view models can really shine.
Perfect.
Okay.
The example outlines a scenario where an API client requests order details. It mentions using AutoMapper to map data from the order domain model to an order DTO.
Right.
Can we break down how that works in practice?
Absolutely. Picture this. Your order domain model is packed with properties.
Okay.
Ordered, order date, customer id, customer name, customer email, shipping address, billing address.
Right.
A whole list of order items,
Okay.
each with their own details.
Okay.
You get the idea.
It's a data-rich model for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But as we discussed, we don't want to expose all of that through our API.
Exactly. So instead of sending that entire order model,
Right.
we create a streamlined order DTO
Okay.
that only includes the essential properties for this specific use case.
Right.
Things like order id, order date, customer name, and total price.
So it's like creating a custom view of the order data
Precisely.
tailored to the needs of the API client.
Now, AutoMapper steps in.
Okay.
Instead of writing manual mapping code,
Okay.
AutoMapper takes care of transferring data from the order model to the order DTO.
Right.
This keeps our code clean and efficient.
AutoMapper feels like magic, but I've heard it can really simplify things,
It is.
especially with complex models.
It's a huge time saver. It handles the mundane task of property mapping so you can focus on the bigger picture.
Right.
And it works seamlessly with .NET 8,
Okay.
making it an invaluable tool in your developer arsenal.
So once our order DTO is populated,
Yes.
it's ready to be serialized into JSON or XML
Right.
and sent back to the API client.
Exactly. The client receives a concise response
Okay.
containing only the necessary data,
Right.
and all sensitive information remains safely tucked away on the server side.
Okay, I'm seeing the DTO workflow in action now.
Yeah.
It's efficient, secure, and pretty elegant, I have to admit.
It is. Now let's flip the script and
Yeah.
see how view models come into play in our e-commerce scenario.
Great.
Let's say a user wants to view their order history on a My Orders page.
Okay, so that page would likely display a list of past orders,
Yes.
each with key details like order date, total, and maybe a link to view the full order details.
Exactly. In this case, an order history view model would be the perfect tool.
Okay.
It could have properties like ordered, order date formatted nicely for display,
Okay.
total price, and maybe even an order status property
Okay.
that translates internal codes into human-readable labels like processing or shipped.
So the view model is doing some of the work to make the data more user-friendly,
Precisely.
even before it reaches the view.
It might even have a view details URL property
Right.
that dynamically generates the URL to view the full order details based on the order.
Okay, that's smart. It encapsulates presentation logic within the view model,
Right.
keeping it separate from both the domain model and the view itself.
Exactly. When the user visits the My Orders page,
Okay.
the controller fetches the relevant orders from the database
Right.
and maps them to a list of order history view model objects using, you guessed it,
AutoMapper.
AutoMapper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're transforming the raw order data into a format that's ready to be displayed in a user-friendly way.
Right. This list of view models is then passed to the Razor view,
Oh.
which loops through them to display each order summary neatly.
View models feel like the bridge between our raw data and the polished presentation we want in our UI.
They are. They give us immense flexibility to shape and prepare data,
Right.
specifically for our views, without cluttering our domain models with presentation logic.
This makes me think about all the times I've struggled to wrangle data into the right format within a Razor view.
Yeah.
View models could have saved me a lot of headaches.
I think we've all been there. Once
Yeah?
you embrace view models, it's hard to imagine going back.
Yeah, for sure.
So far, we've focused on displaying data,
Ugh.
but what about handling user input?
Right.
That's where things can get a little trickier, right?
You're right. User input adds another layer of complexity.
Yeah,
But that's where view models really shine when it comes to input validation.
you got it.
Ah, right. We talked about data annotations earlier.
Yes.
How do they fit into the view model picture?
Let's imagine you have a form for creating a new customer account.
Okay.
Your Create Customer View model would likely have properties for first name, last name, email password, and confirm password.
Okay.
Data annotations allow us to enforce rules on these properties.
So we could use required to ensure all fields are filled out.
Exactly.
Email address to validate the email format.
Yes.
String length to enforce password length rules.
Exactly. And you can even create custom validation attributes for more complex scenarios, like
Okay.
checking password complexity or ensuring a username is unique.
Data annotations act as guardrails, preventing invalid data from entering our system.
Yeah.
And all of this validation happens right in the UI layer before the data even reaches our business logic.
Precisely. If there's a problem with the input,
Yeah.
the view model can immediately flag the error and display a helpful message to the user
Right.
there in the form.
That's so much more efficient than handling validation in our service layer or even deeper in the domain model.
Yeah.
It keeps things clean, organized, and user-friendly.
You got it. View models really are the multitaskers of the UI world.
Okay.
They handle data formatting,
Right.
presentation logic, and input validation,
Great.
all while keeping our code base well-structured and maintainable.
Okay. I'm sold on the power of view models.
Good.
But with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Are there any common pitfalls to avoid when working with DTOs and view models?
There are. And honestly, some of the most common mistakes stem from a misunderstanding of their distinct purposes.
Like the temptation to reuse DTOs as view models?
Exactly. Or vice versa. While it might seem like a shortcut,
Yeah.
it's a recipe for confusion and potential problems down the road.
Okay.
DTOs are optimized for data transfer between systems,
Right.
while view models are tailored for UI presentation.
Their structures and properties often reflect their specific roles.
Right.
A DTO might include data that shouldn't be exposed in the UI, while a view model might contain calculated properties or presentation-specific logic that wouldn't make sense in a DTO.
Precisely. Mixing them up can lead to security vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
unnecessary data exposure, and a tangled code base that's difficult to maintain.
So resist the urge to merge them no matter how tempting it seems.
Yeah.
Got it. What else should we watch out for?
Another common trap is overcomplicating DTOs and view models.
Okay.
Remember, simplicity is key.
Right.
Avoid the urge to cram every possible property into them.
So if a DTO or view model starts to feel bloated,
Yeah.
it might be a sign that we need to rethink our approach.
Right.
Perhaps break it down into smaller, more focused units.
Exactly. And always unit test your mapping and validation logic.
Okay.
This is essential for ensuring that your DTOs and view models are working as expected and catching any potential issues early on.
Unit testing, the bedrock of reliable code.
Yeah.
It's always good to have that
It
reminder.
can't be emphasized enough, especially when dealing with patterns like DTOs and view models,
Right.
where small errors can have ripple effects throughout your application.
Okay, I'm taking notes.
Okay.
Avoid mixing DTOs and view models.
Right.
Keep them simple.
Yes.
And always unit test.
Yes.
Any other words of wisdom before we move on?
One final thought.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to experiment and iterate.
Okay.
DTOs and view models are flexible patterns
Okay.
that can be adapted to a wide range of scenarios.
Right.
The more you use them, the
Mhm.
better you'll understand their nuances and discover creative ways to apply them in your projects.
That's encouraging. It sounds like mastering these patterns is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Now, are you ready to dive into some advanced techniques?
Oh, yeah.
Nested DTOs and view models, custom mapping, inheritance.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of possibilities waiting to be explored.
All right, I'm ready to level up.
Mm-hmm.
Bring on the advanced DTO and view model techniques.
Uh-huh.
That's the first thing we should tackle.
Let's talk about nested DTOs and view models. We've been emphasizing simplicity and keeping things flat.
Right.
But sometimes our data relationships demand a bit more structure.
Okay. I'm intrigued. When would we need to go beyond flat DTOs and view models?
Think about a scenario where you're building an API for a blog. You have a post entity,
Okay.
and each post can have multiple comment entities.
Right. A classic parent-child relationship.
Exactly. In this case, a flat DTO might not cut it.
Okay.
We'd want to create a post DTO that includes a list of comment DTOs.
Okay.
This way, we can represent that relationship in a way that mirrors our domain model
Right.
and makes sense to the API consumer.
So instead of just sending a bunch of disconnected data points,
Right.
we're creating a package of related information that reflects the actual structure of our data.
Precisely. And the same applies to view models.
Okay.
If we're displaying a blog post on a web page,
Right.
a post view model could contain the post data and a list of comment view models.
Right.
This keeps our view logic organized and makes it easier to render the comments in a structured way.
Okay. I'm seeing how nesting can add clarity and structure in certain situations. But I imagine it's important to use this technique sparingly.
You're right. Too much nesting can create DTOs and view models that are difficult to understand and maintain. It's a balancing act. We need to find the right level of nesting to represent our data relationships accurately without sacrificing simplicity.
Makes sense. What other advanced techniques should we have in our toolbox?
Let's talk about custom mapping logic. AutoMapper is amazing for handling those straightforward property mappings.
Right.
But sometimes we need more fine-grained control.
When would we need to step outside of AutoMapper's default behavior?
Imagine a scenario where your domain model stores dates and times as UTC timestamps,
Okay.
which is a best practice for data consistency. But for the user interface, you need to display those dates and times in the user's local time zone.
Right. We need to translate the data for better usability.
Exactly. AutoMapper allows you to create custom mapping profiles, where you can define specific logic for handling individual properties.
Right.
In this case, you could write a custom mapping function that converts the UTC timestamp to the user's local time zone during the mapping process.
So we can still leverage AutoMapper's power, but we can add our own special instructions for how certain properties should be handled.
Precisely. It's like giving AutoMapper a little helper function to take care of these unique scenarios. And this flexibility is incredibly valuable when you're dealing with complex data transformations or specific presentation requirements.
Custom mapping sounds like a powerful technique to master. What else is there?
One more technique that can really elevate your DTO and view model game is inheritance. Think about how we use inheritance with classes and object-oriented programming. We can apply those same principles here.
Okay, my OOP brain is tingling. Give me an example.
Let's say you're building an e-commerce platform with different product types,
Okay.
physical products, digital products, and subscriptions. They all share common properties like name, price, and description,
Right.
but they also have unique attributes.
Right. A physical product might have weight and dimensions, while a digital product might have a file size or download link.
Exactly. We can create a base product DTO with the shared properties and then specialized DTOs for each product type that inherit from that base.
Okay.
This allows us to create a hierarchy of DTOs that reflects the structure of our domain model and avoids code duplication.
So each specialized DTO inherits the common properties from the base DTO and adds its own unique properties. That's elegant.
It is. And you can use the same approach with view models.
Okay.
A base product view model might handle common display logic,
Okay.
while specialized view models for each product type can handle any unique presentation requirements.
Inheritance feels like a powerful tool for organization and reusability, especially as our applications grow in complexity.
It is. It helps you create a well-structured code base that's easier to understand, maintain, and extend. And it plays nicely with both DTOs and view models, giving you a lot of flexibility in how you design your data structures.
These advanced techniques are really opening my eyes to the possibilities. It's clear that mastering DTOs and view models is more than just understanding the basics. It's about using these patterns strategically and creatively to solve real-world problems.
That's exactly it. And .NET 8 provides a fantastic environment for putting these techniques into practice.
Right.
Its focus on performance, security, and modern web development practices makes it the perfect platform for building robust and efficient applications using DTOs and view models.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. I feel like I've gained a whole new level of understanding.
I'm glad to hear that. Remember, the key is to keep learning, experimenting, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible with these patterns.
Great advice. And I know our listeners eager to put all of this knowledge into action.
Absolutely. There's a vibrant .NET community out there full of resources and people willing to help. Don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, and share your experiences.
Well, folks, we've reached the end of our deep dive into DTOs and view models in .NET 8. We hope you've enjoyed the journey.
And remember, the best way to master any technique is to practice. So fire up your IDE, get coding, and start building amazing applications.
Until next time, happy coding.